Should Notre Dame join the ACC? I'm going to answer that question today because I think it is a very complex idea. And honestly, if you asked me last year, the answer would have been very easily yes, because of the four teams getting a bye if they win their division or conference, not division. And Notre Dame would not have that opportunity playing as an independent. Obviously, they've changed the rules. You can get the bye if you're just the top four seeds. So it does benefit Notre Dame not to have to play a conference championship game to possibly lose and fall out of the top four. But there is benefits to Notre Dame playing in a conference, in the ACC in particular, because generally speaking, the ACC is Clemson versus the world. I know Miami was somewhat competitive, and a few other teams randomly pop up here and there. SMU last year actually being a playoff team. Fun fact, they had two playoff teams. Big 12 only had one, so are they the worst power conference? I don't know yet, but the ACC does benefit the Irish a little bit, because here's the thing. They could have what Clemson did last year, and this is the big factor that people don't think about with the new conference championships, where five get in no matter what. With four power conference teams, there's a large chance that a three-loss Clemson team, like last year, stumble into the conference championship, win it, make the playoffs, get blown out by Texas. But it doesn't matter what happens in that situation, because they made the playoffs, and that's all that matters. And that's where I think Notre Dame joining a conference could be very valuable. If Notre Dame joins the ACC, there's always that lifeline like Clemson had last year, where they can fall back on a conference championship to make the playoffs, because otherwise Clemson does not make the playoffs and they're playing in some Pop-Tart Bowl or something. Because they wouldn't have had that chance. And obviously Syracuse upsetting Miami had to be the only real option for Clemson to even get into the conference championship. But with that being said, Notre Dame could love to have that fallback position. Plus, I think there is a little bit more money into it. If they were in the ACC, they'd probably get a lot more money. And, I mean, they're already in the ACC in all other sports, I'm pretty sure. I know at least basketball. I don't know about much else, but why not? They play the ACC anyway. Their schedule is mostly the ACC. And honestly, with that benefit of falling back on a conference championship, I just don't see any negatives outside of the fact that they got to play a conference championship now if they are a top 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed. If they lose that conference championship, they're going to fall out of the top 4 seeds. I think, honestly, maybe the NCAA should lock in the top 4 going in the conference championships. If they lose, they still get to maintain the top 4 unless they lose like the 5th seed or something. Like something crazy like that, where if you're the 3 seed and you play the 5th seed, you lose to them, you swap positions or something. But I think the top 4 should be locked in, because honestly, playing the conference championships don't look really well for these teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. But it would work very well in the Big 12 and the ACC, because it's going to get a team that's probably not in the top 12 in the college football rankings into the postseason, like we saw with, I'm pretty sure, both. I don't think Arizona State was in the top 12 either. Although they were probably the best team we've talked about right now. Like, they're better than Clemson, obviously, or like SMU and stuff. They put up one hell of a fight in that playoff game. But either way, I think that fallback for Notre Dame to have a conference championship to rely on if they just randomly lose 3 games. Because last year when they lost to Northern Illinois, there was a lot of talks that they might not be a playoff team, and they ended up being like a middle seed. I think they played the 10 seed. I think they were like, did they play the 10 seed or did they play the 7-8? They were very close to like even middle tier seeds. I don't remember the exact one, but one more loss could have honestly pulled Notre Dame out of the playoffs, and they went all the way to the national championship. But that wouldn't have happened if they got to play SMU in the ACC championship, because they would have kicked SMU's ass in. Yes, they would have. And I think, honestly, that's why Notre Dame should join the ACC, because it gives you that fallback like Clemson had. And realistically, year in and year out, Clemson's going to be the only team that is going to be a true contender. But I also see why Notre Dame shouldn't join, because, you know, why join a conference when you don't got to play conference championship games? You're still getting recruits. You get to play most of the easy ACC teams because they play most of their whatever, and they can kind of pick and choose. They're not forced to play certain people from that conference like the other teams in the ACC are, so they don't have to go play a Clemson or a Miami or Florida State, one of the teams that could be good, or an SMU or something. They can play the Wake Forest, Dukes, North Carolinas, who are generally not been very good. Obviously, some of those teams could turn it around. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section